I never imagined that a single afternoon, one harmless, spontaneous decision, would dismantle the life I believed I had built over nearly 3 decades. My name is Marcus Hale. I'm 56 years old. And until that Thursday in October, I truly thought I understood my wife, Diana, better than anyone else in the world. She had been working late for months, CEO of a major tech corporation, Vanguard Systems, drowning in 14-hour days and endless executive crises. I'd been spending more and more nights eating dinner alone, reheating casseroles while she texted me apologies and updates from board meetings. That morning she rushed out without her usual coffee, and something in me wanted to do something thoughtful, something small but meaningful. So I decided to bring her favorite almond milk latte and a sandwich I'd made myself. The downtown skyscraper gleamed in the afternoon sun as I walked through the glass entrance. I'd only visited her office a handful of times. She always insisted it was easier to keep work and home separate. I thought it was professional discipline. I never realized it was concealment. Inside the marble lobby, I approached the security desk and told the guard, Lewis, according to his nameplate, that I was there to see Diana. I even smiled. And then the world split open. You're her husband? He asked, eyebrows knitting. Sir, I see her husband every day. There he is now. I turned and saw a tall, sharply dressed man in an expensive suit. Mid-40s, confident, polished, every inch the type of executive who belongs in a lobby like this. Jonathan Pierce. I knew the name, Diana's vice president. She spoke of him often, but always briefly, always professionally. Lewis nodded toward him. Mrs. Hale's husband. I felt something hot and cold rush through me at the same time. Jonathan looked directly at me, and in that brief second, I saw something unmistakable in his eyes. Not guilt, not panic, but recognition that I realized he knew exactly who I was. My entire being wanted to scream, to demand answers, but instinct saved me. Instead, I forced a polite smile and told Jonathan I was a friend of the family. That lie tasted like poison, but it bought me the only currency that mattered in that moment. Timed out, he took the lunch I'd brought, promised to pass it along, and walked away as casually as if he hadn't just detonated my life. That I left the building in a haze, the latte still warm in my shaking hands. By the time I was back in my car, Diana had texted me, running late again. Don't wait up. Love you. I stared at those words, feeling them rot in my chest. That night, as she walked into our home, calm, polished, affectionate even, I watched her closely. Every gesture was familiar, yet suddenly felt rehearsed. She swore she never received the coffee, said she had meetings all day, never even blinked when I mentioned Jonathan. Either she was telling the truth, or she was the best liar I had ever known. The next day, unable to work, I did something I had never done in our entire marriage. I went through her things. I expected guilt, shame, maybe even anger at myself for snooping. Instead, I felt nothing but a cold, calculated need for answers. First came small inconsistencies. Receipts for intimate dinners she'd claimed were business meetings. Credit card charges in places she shouldn't have been. Calendar entries with Jonathan labeled, only with his initial. Then came the invitation, dinner plans. That very night at a restaurant Diana and I used to reserve for. Anniversaries that I watched her lie to my face about a late conference call with Tokyo, then leave. The house and the dress I'd bought her for her birthday. I followed. When I saw her car parked beside Jonathan's at the restaurant, the last fragile threads holding my denial together finally snapped. 2 days later, a key I found in our junk drawer led me to something far worse. Their apartment. Neat. Stylish. Lived in. Photos of Diana and Jonathan smiling together, her wedding ring conspicuously absent. Clothes hanging side by side. A shared bathroom. Toothbrushes. Perfumes. A folder labeled future plans. Inside it, vacation brochures meant for them, not us. A proposed company restructuring with his name placed above hers. And the final blow, a legal consultation summary where Diana had already begun framing me as emotionally distant, passive, an obstacle she had outgrown. She had been planning my removal for years. That I returned home numb, carrying only evidence, photos of the apartment, copies of her legal notes, screenshots of emails. I watched her come home at nearly midnight, smiling, thanking me for being patient with her long work hours. The next morning, I confronted her. The woman who sat across from me was not my wife. Or maybe she always had been, and I was the one who never noticed. She didn't deny it. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She simply asked, "How much do you know?" She confessed her affair without remorse, explaining it as though it were a strategic corporate transition. She spoke of Jonathan as the man who challenged her, who matched her ambitions. She said she had outgrown me, that my quiet life, my contentment, my lack of hunger for more made me safe, but stagnant. Then she told me she planned to file for divorce the next month, and that she and Jonathan hoped to marry by Christmas. It wasn't heartbreak that hit me, it was clarity. Finally, I met with a lawyer. I gathered years of financial records. I uncovered how Diana had funneled joint funds into her second life. Worse, how she had violated corporate rules to promote Jonathan. I notified her company's board. Not out of vengeance, out of necessity, out of self-preservation. What followed was months of unraveling. Her affair became known. The secret apartment was exposed. Jonathan was fired. Diana was stripped of authority and placed under supervision. Her dream of building an empire with him collapsed. Our divorce was finalized with terms far more equal than she expected, because this time, I wasn't the passive husband she had counted on. 6 months later, I stood in the kitchen of my new apartment, a small place. Quiet, peaceful. Mine. I poured myself coffee, realizing the strangest truth of all. I was happier. I'd begun seeing someone, Margaret, a warm-hearted widow who appreciated long conversations and simple moments. With her, I felt seen, not evaluated. Loved, not measured. One evening Diana called, her voice tired and cracking around the edges. She apologized, not for the betrayal itself, but for the way she had handled it. She admitted her future with Jonathan had collapsed almost immediately. She asked whether I ever wondered what might have been. Sometimes, I told her. But her betrayal had freed me from a life where I had been shrinking quietly for years. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't living in someone else's shadow. I wasn't striving to meet unspoken standards. I wasn't the supporting character in a story someone else was already rewriting. I was simply myself. Honest, loyal, steady. Qualities Diana dismissed as limitations. Qualities Margaret saw as strengths. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough. More than enough. I was exactly where I belonged.